I will call to order the city council study session for the new year for 2022. I have a question for you too. Do we have a clerk today?
Kelda is here with us.
Okay, great. So just to make sure that everyone knows who's here, can we do a quick roll call of all of the council members that are here? And the reason why we are doing it partially Zoom is because we did check with our lawyer, and we are able to still do Zoom as long as we are not taking actions. And for me, I have a COVID case in my household, so I don't want to be there. And then also the mayor pro tem got stuck out of town due to a medical emergency. So if we could do a roll call, I would greatly appreciate it.
Roll call. Mayor Garrett.
Present.
Mayor pro tem Cantor.
Present.
Councilmember Jennings.
Present.
Councilmember Canez.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. First up, we're going to have a discussion. Oh, actually, I'm not sure. Is the person from Wayne State here?
Yeah, so I've been emailing back and forth with him, and over the holidays he disappeared. So I never heard back from him as to whether or not he could make the meeting. He had been pretty responsive up to that point. So I'm guessing he's out of town and just hasn't gotten back to me, but I will continue to reach out to him, and we can push this to the study session for the January meeting.
Yeah, technically, because like I'm still off. Technically, Monday, if the holiday falls on a weekend, then the Monday you're off. So that's why I had to double check myself for this week. It's all good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna skip.
I will figure that out. Yeah, it's coming out my speaker. Usually it comes out through the audio here. So let me. No, we'll get feedback, I think. We don't want the feedback, trust me. I'll look into that one.
Or they could just talk louder and clearer or something.
Start yelling, people.
You're listening on a computer speaker.
Okay, we'll be loud.
As loud as I could possibly get. So we're going to move on from the American Cell Tower because the person who was going to do the presentation is not available. So we're going to go to the back building, the 1.5, I think it's liters, sorry, water meters. And I'm not sure who is going to be presenting that particular.
That'd be me.
Okay.
That'd be me. So as we talked a little bit about in the past meeting, and how's this volume? Can you guys hear me?
We're still trying to get the sound. You guys can slow down.
Okay, see if it works now.
Okay, can you hear me?
That's better. That's better.
Can you lower the Can someone lower the screen down if possible, just a little bit, because I can just see the very top of Councilman Jennings' head.
Like that?
Oh, other way.
Other way, down, down. Yes, perfect, perfect.
That good?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so this is we talked about this a little bit, I believe at the last meeting. So as I'm sure you all remember, we think we've found the major factor of the water loss issue. And that was we good? Okay, so we think we've found the water loss issue, which was the issue of erroneously doing 4-digit reads off of the meters instead of 5-digit reads for 70 of our biggest water using clients, which are the ones that have the 1.5 inch meters. And so one of the things we need to talk about as a group is if we want to, do any type of back billing to these customers, and if so, how do we want to approach it? And there's a lot of different options in the way that we can do that. I mean, my thought is it was our mistake, so we need to give these clients, some sort of break, since this was our fault. But at the same time, they used that water and the residents paid for it. So it seems fair that we go back and try to balance bill or back bill, some of the usage, maybe not the full 4 years, but again, that's something that we'll need to discuss and decide as a group. I did talk to Scott Baker a little bit about this to determine whether or not there was any legal issues with back billing, and it doesn't appear that there is. So we talked about some different options about doing things like, the water rates over those 4 years change, every 12 months. So, you wouldn't know how much usage was for what particular year. So we talked about, possibly doing some type of calculation where we use the lowest rate over that 4-year period, to give them a break. And also, it would be the lowest possible value that they could have possibly paid over that 4 years. So again, to make it defensible legally. The other thing we talked about is possibly, doing, again, to give these mostly businesses a break is, depending on the amount, maybe do some type of scaled payback period. So if they owe under $1,000, it's due within 6 months, or if it's, from 1,000 to 5,000 or something like that, they have a year to pay it off, that kind of thing. So that's something, just to throw out there as an idea that we can kind of brainstorm around. And then, like I said, do we back bill them for 1 year? Do we back bill them for all 4 years? Again, this is all stuff that we can brainstorm. But I mean, we're talking probably somewhere in the neighborhood over the last 4 years of it's hard to quantify, but we're probably talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 to $800,000.
Did you say 600 to, did you say six? Wait a minute.
600 to about $800,000 roughly. So so for example, in the last fiscal year, if you look at the audit, it shows that the cost to the city was of the water loss was $427,000. Well, that's actually revenue, what they report in that table. But if you actually look at the cost to the city, you're looking at about $335,000. And then remember, there is some, acceptable water loss. We're still going to, no matter what we do, we're still going to lose about, probably anywhere from 10 to 20%. So, that 335,000 isn't all, recoupable. So, I just said, all right, well, let's say it's around $200,000, times 4 years, you're talking probably about a maximum of $800,000. And again, these are people who have 1.5-inch meters. So these tend to be our big water users, which is why it had such a big effect on our water loss percentage. So, so that's kind of the introduction. And then I guess we just need to discuss and kind of decide what makes sense to do, as a group.
Thank you. Is there anyone want to open that discussion up?
Okay, so since there's, I assume the mics are working and there's no discussion. So let me throw out some questions. What's up, Susie? Looks like you're about to say something. You're on mute, Susie.
Yeah, because most of us are in the Zoom. Everybody's in Zoom pretty much. It's very seldom you have a council here and.
I just thought, what percentage, does anybody have the breakdown, what percentage of them were businesses and what were residents?
No, and the thing is,
We're not
Pam,
hearing if people are talking.
We don't hear you, Pam. Pam or Susie, we don't hear you. Just a second, everyone. I'm sure she won't answer her phone, seeing that we're in a meeting right now, but.
Right, right.
Of course she won't. Hey, we can't hear anything if someone's speaking. Okay, so nobody's talking right now.
The only way we can pick up
Okay.
audio from the chambers is if Susie unmutes her computer. But then it has to be muted again before one of the Zoom participants talks.
Did you hear that? Pam? Okay, and then anyone from staff should be sitting in
Me.
that seat or turn the computer back around to the to council, because we don't see anyone from council.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Yep.
I also think you should turn the computer this way and bring it back so that you can see all
That's what Kelly said. She wanted the computer so that either
Can
we
you
have to
guys
sit
see?
there or there.
Bring it.
Yep.
Tilt it back just a little bit more so you can see Karen.
Let's see.
Or yeah.
That's as far as I can go without tripping out the
No worries.
cables. So I can get the edge of Karen in.
That's fine.
I mean, I can see you. I think Barb, where are you at? Wait, Barb. No, Barb, it's Barb that's off camera. Oh, I saw your hand.
I gotta be, because all I see is that thing. All right.
Fun times.
As long as they can hear me, I don't care if I'm on camera. Yeah, great.
Well, they wanted it turned the other way, I was told.
Fine, and just, if you
That
can make,
better?
if you can y'all hear me?
Oh.
Can y'all hear me?
No, we'll hear after. You're gonna have to turn it back on and off.
Susie. Okay, well then I'm gonna say they can't hear me.
All right. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, if, as long as, you might not be able to see them, but as long as we make sure that we know who's speaking, if they could just announce who was speaking, that would be good.
I'll do my best to like move the camera. How's that? In the direction of the people.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah,
What questions were there?
Yes, lots of questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, great. Before we decide what we're doing about this, I want to know what happened, who is responsible? How did we not know that we weren't billing them the right amount? I'm especially wondering why our water bills were raised by 22% per month before investigating a loss like this. And why isn't this something that the infrastructure committee investigated? Is this something that was discovered by our resident Bo Tamrelli, or was there some kind of an issue with equipment from the vendor, from the manufacturer? What? I mean, as a business owner running a business, if someone's bill drops this huge amount and there's like 70 people, I mean, that's a lot, $600,000 to $800,000, that's a lot of money. And I don't know like what checks and balances are in place that somebody would notice, that something like this was happening. And, it's a four years. And like I said, now the residents are paying additional money and, and like, how do you go backwards now? I don't know.
Well, thank you for the question. So can we do that? What was your first question? So we can answer them one by one.
Her first question was what happened?
So Pam, do you want to take that? I mean, that as far as the I mean, there were several questions in there. I can answer some of them, but as far as the 4-digit versus 5-digit read, do you want to explain that?
Okay, what happened is when we switched over our software and when we had went to radio reads, the billing for the 1.5 inch meters were being billed 4 units and the multiplier was a 10. So everybody on the billing got either 10 units billed or 0 units billed, 10 or 0, 10 or 0. And it just depended on when they reached that 10 or when they didn't. We didn't know about this until my thing is, they were talking to Aaron about their bills. And so Aaron was adjusting the bills to bring them down to, excuse me, it was originally 5 digits, 1. So somehow it got to the 10 multiplier. So Aaron was changing to make it so that it was reading to a 4-digit 10 multiplier, which is supposed to be a 5-digit 1 multiplier. So not telling me that he was doing this, as also with the estimated bills going out, I didn't know about that either. I just found out a lot of this in February after he left and I took over the water bill. So that's when I started looking into things. I started questioning things. We sent out letters about estimated bills. This is when everything started to come into play, is when after Aaron left.
Okay.
So he was supposed to check with us before he did things on the computer, which were not done. Not knowing, working on the budget, not saying that he was wrong, I was wrong, but I probably didn't have the overcheck I should have had with him on the thing. So that's what happened there. And then I started looking into it, digging into it more and more. That's when we had, when we started checking in the water losses, when the auditors brought the water losses to us 2 years ago, we started checking into things. We've gone out, we've done a bunch of water loss testing. The last thing we did is we worked on the software program. That's when we found out, when the meter people that we buy our meters from told us that our 1.5 inch meters were not reading correctly. They should have been 5 digits, 1 multiplier. So I had the new company, or not the new, our software company go in and change all the 1.5 inch meters to be 5 multiplier, 1, 5 digits, 1 multiplier. So that's what happened, and that's how we found it. The last month we did have a 12% water loss, which is back to normal. We will find out again what this one is. We're going to go out, probably read tomorrow, so we'll know by the end of the week what our water loss is for this month. So
is there any kind of responsibility on the software company, on the company that the things were purchased from? No, it's just what
No,
happened
it's
here.
human, it's
Yeah.
human. I mean, because it was being switched. No, I don't, and it's with the, when we went to the radio reads and that, I think that was part of what, the 1.5 inch meters just never got switched like they should have been. But
Yeah.
That isn't something we could maybe take back to the company that we purchased from, or no?
no,
No,
no.
we tried.
Yeah,
We
and
talked we talked to the company about, the meter company, and they're, I mean, it's not the meters for, in the software, because we had somebody humanly doing things.
So it was just reset here. It wasn't like a package that we purchased, but it was all done and that kind of.
No, we had to do a lot of manual
Adjusted.
adjusting when we went to the radio reads.
Okay.
And to address the other part of your question, Karen, for the last several years, we've been doing a variety of investigations. The administration has, in terms of looking for, because we were approaching it from the perspective of, it could be real water loss or it could be, billing. So we've done, and I don't have the list in front of me, but from the best of my recollection, we did things like, we audited the billing system. We did meter testing from the perspective of the main meter where the water comes in from Saco, where it's measured. So we had done several tests of that meter to make sure that, the amount of water that we were buying from Saco was being calculated correctly. We've done all sorts of, using very sophisticated listening devices. We've looked for actual leaks on all of the water mains, the gate valves, basically all the different components of the system. Our DPW was using those devices to determine whether or not there were leaks. They didn't find anything. Trying to think of some of the other things that we did. I can get the whole, I've got the whole list of things that we've done, but there's about 10 or 15 things that we've done over the last couple of years looking for that. And like Pam said, then, as we continued to investigate it, this 4-digit, 5-digit read was discovered. And then the other question that you're talking about, the $10 surcharge to the water, that has nothing to do with the water loss issue whatsoever. The $10,
I know. It doesn't have anything to do with it, but we're $600,000 to $800,000 short that we didn't receive. So that has an impact on something. That was my point.
Oh, sure.
Not just, we just, 600, 800, oh, no big deal. I mean, our big budget isn't that large, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a huge part of our budget, actually. Is there anything that can be done? I mean, I'm thinking if it's that much money, the water bills for those 70 properties must have dropped drastically.
Well, that was the point that I think I made in the last meeting, and at the, when we brainstormed this I know you were at the infrastructure meeting, Karen, when we brainstormed this, it's just like, it's hard to believe that, that these customers had didn't know that.
No, I'm not talking about the customers. A customer isn't going to say, oh, hey, you underbilled me this month. That's not going to happen. I'm talking about something in the city that has some kind of a process that kind of checks. So I said that's a huge amount of money, and 70 properties. So would that have also gone under Aaron? Monitoring what happens with the bills, or the revenue coming in, or
Well, that's under the budget, and that's under me. So I would be monitoring what was coming in and things like that.
okay.
So
Did you notice that there was a big difference in
Not-
that?
not within the last couple of years, no, not really. I mean, because there's always been, we've always had some kind of fluctuation, but not that. So I don't know if even the $7,000 or $8,000 or 700,000, 800,000 is even a true amount.
Okay.
Or a correct amount that, I mean, I think Bruce is guesstimating that amount.
Right. Like I said, that's a very coarse guess. And the other thing too, I think, we knew we had a large percentage of water loss. And as I said, we've been investigating it over the last couple of years, but as far as the money coming in, as you were mentioning, Karen, that it'd be hard to detect, once it went up, because it's been hovering around 40% for the last 4 years. So that kind of adds to the difficulty of it as well, I think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was a huge jump in 2016, 17. So like that should have been like a red flag for
Yeah.
whatever, and it's continued. So
Yeah.
when, you know, when you go back and they say our water loss should be around 10%, there's articles, you know, when Jeff was here in the newspaper about water meters and the water loss, and if we're at this point, we're good. So, you know, 10, 12% as opposed to 43% is like.
It's a huge difference.
I mean, like, to me, that's like, would be like an emergency situation, to
Well-
like, we find out what the heck is happening here.
And you're talking about 16 and 17, that's when we had changeover of managers at that time. So I was doing a manager's job and a treasurer's job, both for almost 9 months.
Okay.
So to keep an eye on the water billing too, I will say that I probably slacked on that part of it, but there was a lot of work on the plate to do at that time. That's why this time I asked for help, as being an interim
Right,
manager.
I totally understand, but it's not on you, like, this is on the city council that was in place that has let this continue to go year after year after year without raising our rates, doing those kinds of things without finding out what was going on, because again, that's a lot of money.
Well, council has brought it to the city, and that's why we did go out and do all the findings that we were trying to do.
Right.
I mean, because the city was, you know, when they first brought up the water loss, the city had asked us to go out and do the findings and that. So it's just a matter of, you know, getting the managers in place, getting, you know, things. Now we're back in the same boat we were before, where we're doing multiple jobs and we're trying to.
Right.
And all the things that the DPW is doing for us to try to look for, you know, these issues. Those aren't things that just happen overnight. I mean, we've got, I can't remember the exact number, I think 22 miles of water main that had to be checked. We've got, you know, I'm trying to remember the number. Don't hold me to these, but maybe 400 or 500 gate valves. All the different components need to be checked. So that takes time as well. So.
Yeah, I guess too, I don't know, I don't remember this being shared with the community. Did you ever hear about it, Barb?
It was brought up at meetings and that.
Okay, but not, you know, during the, I mean, again, to me, that's like a huge deal. And as a business person running an organization, I don't know.
How long will it take the city to break even on this loss? Building the way we are right now, will we ever make up for it?
Well, that's what the
Our
topic of-
conversation's about right now.
So yeah, I mean, so to bring that up, so I mean, what do people think? I mean, you know, in terms of back billing, I mean, what are people's thoughts on that?
Can we see a breakdown of what we're talking? Are we talking tens of thousands for a business? Are we talking a thousand?
Well, I can give you just some rough calculations that I've done, and again, this is on average, and this is assuming, you know, I guesstimated $600,000 to $800,000. So using the $800,000 is the worst possible case. You know, dividing that by 70 customers, you know, and you're talking roughly about $11,500 per customer, which was about $2,800 per year. Again, these are our big water customer users. Of course,
That's how much they don't all use the same amount of water. That doesn't even make sense, Bruce.
That's what I'm saying.
We would need to see the 70 customers, and see what does it look like. I mean, it's gonna be maybe a real hardship for some. I mean, everybody's not in the same boat here, so to average it out and guesstimate, that's not, you can't make decisions on that kind of information.
Have we identified the offices and the customers? Are the customers identified that this? We have
yes.
7 certain customers.
70.
Oh, 70.
70, right? Yeah, 70.
So you've identified 70, and between the 70, what % is business and what % is residential?
Most is business.
Oh,
What? It's all.
Most of
of
our
it.
business.
Can, just excuse me while I can jump in here. Can you just acknowledge who is speaking? Because I'm not sure if it is Councilwoman Miller or Knez that is speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was Councilwoman Canaz asking what percent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if we've identified them, and if we know that they've been there the 4 years that this loss was taking place, I think there might be a way to get something back on it. But I think if somebody's moved or if a new resident has come in, I think you've got to let that one go. You can't expect a new resident to pay for an old resident's old water bill.
No, we're not, I wouldn't support that either, but the old customers, so for example, like Honey Tree, for example, I mean, that's an issue that we're gonna have to, whatever we decide to do, we'll have to figure out, former businesses like a Honey Tree. Do we go after them for their water loss, or for their unbilled water? I mean, those are some of the esoteric, or not esoteric, wrong word, but
That's
you know,
only one of the 4 years.
some of the things that we'll have to figure out.
Well, actually, that one we have already, we already have the amount that because their water, actually, they were getting estimated bills. So we have fixed their meter and we already have what they owe and they're paying on it. So.
Right, but the point I'm making is that we'll have to figure there's going to be little
Right.
things here and there that we're going to have to figure out, if we do decide to back bill. But we should be able to, I mean, it shouldn't be rocket science. I mean, let's say, for example, we wanted to bill back for the 4 years. We basically just need to find out the actual read before this issue started, find their actual read now, find the difference. That's the number of units of water that they use, and then subtract out any units of water that they paid for, and what's left over would be the amount that they would owe. So yeah, I mean, so it's a question. I mean, part of me says, we like I said when I kind of introduced this, this was our mistake, so it's tough to have to hit them with this. But by the same token, they also used that water, and they used it. So
what do we do if they decline? I mean, what's your option there?
if they decline to pay,
Right.
well, I mean, if we decide as a group that that we're going to back bill and they don't pay, then it just, Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, it just becomes a lien on their taxes on the property, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like the list before I make any kind of a
Yes, I
determination on what way to go with this.
I agree. I'd like to know the properties.
Barb is speaking right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Barb Canaz. I'd like to know the properties and the amount owed.
Pam, do you have that?
I'll have to get it. It's gonna take some time, but I will get it.
Okay, by the end of the week, you think?
The end of the week?
It's probably going to take, I mean,
I just want to have some, due date, so we won't be inundated with emails of when, then they receive something. So just want to know, when do you think you would be able to get that?
This is Barb speaking.
Right.
Oh,
Right now, we are still collecting CoreLogic taxes, so it's probably gonna be next week. I would say.
Okay, that's
probably.
fine. That's fine. I mean, how about, I'm trying to look at, let me find.
I was
it.
looking at my calendar to,
Okay, so let's say so we're looking at the 14th, have it by close of business on the 14th?
I can do that.
Sweet, thank you.
Yep.
so Pam, this isn't something you have to start from scratch. You've already identified these places.
We have the 70 addresses, yes.
Okay, perfect.
So we'll have that to the council by next Friday, the 14th.
Correct.
End of business.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any other questions about the back billing? And then what we can do, once you have that information, then we will revisit it for
Right.
our study session, the next study session, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're gonna move on to staff openings.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I'm not sure who Darlene is.
I'm a resident. Are residents allowed to talk or is just
Not
council?
not at this time, Ms. Holly. We will, there's a portion at the public comments that you'll be able to speak at that time, okay?
Okay, sorry. Okay.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it. So going to the staff openings. Looks like we have some proposals to talk about for the city administrator.
Yes, Mayor, Scott McKee speaking here. The council did direct me to secure 3 different bids or quotes for services for an executive search. Those 3 bids were obtained for MML, GovHR, and Baker Tilly. These quotes for services were sent out this afternoon, late this afternoon, but you do have those now through your email or in person here today.
I appreciate it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Karen Miller speaking. Are we supposed to do something with this tonight, or we're just receiving the packets and we can look at them and come back at another time?
Well, tonight is a study session. So the study session is where we're going to be discussing the proposals. And hopefully, once we discuss them, we can make a decision to move forward at our next meeting, which the next meeting is when we take action on a
Okay,
situation.
well, we got these at 4:45 today, so
Actually, they were sent out December 29th. That was included in the email today. So I'm not sure.
actually they weren't. We didn't have the MML one.
Okay, so
Actually, they weren't.
so we have it right now, and so we can discuss it. So we can either, not discuss it now and keep pushing it back, which, I mean, one thing is that if you want to take some time right now to go through it, if you have any questions about it, we don't have to take any actions tonight, but we can discuss it, or if you don't
But
want
if you don't have the information, how do you know what questions and what to look for?
I'm sorry, let's, if we can be just cordial, just allow everybody just to finish their what they're saying. What I was saying is that we can go through this if you want to take some time, just kind of go over it, maybe even Pam or Scott or Susie to kind of explain what the package involves. And if we find that we need to have more time to discuss it, then we can put it where we just discuss it at the next meeting or the next discussion session and not put it as an action item. But that's what I'm asking from everyone. Do you want to have them kind of go over the package to see what the differences are? Because I know what you're saying is that you just received it. I was able to go through all of the proposals and I had some questions about them. So that's what I'm just, trying to get a consensus of where everybody else is with that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see them till today either, so I haven't read through them, but, can we, is there, I don't know if Scott McKee, I think he was receiving, can give us the high points and then we can, have as much of a discussion as we can have tonight. And then we've got another.
Hey, Bruce, sorry. Karen was talking, we were having feedback, so I had to mute you. And
Oh, sorry.
Karen was in the middle of her thoughts, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Was just saying that we didn't direct Scott and Pam and Susie to collect these quotes or RFPs or whatever and then present to us. We just asked them to get the information. So to put Scott on the spot right now to go over the proposals with us, that's not okay.
Excuse me. So actually we did direct them to get 3 proposals at our last meeting. And so just presenting it to us is just to explain what they received in their conversation that they had with anyone. But if you all need some more time to go over it, I mean, that's fine. We can just table it till we have our next meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, what does anyone else think?
I glanced at it, but I haven't really read it. How about you? That was hard.
Yeah, I don't have, this is Jalen. I can't say that I can speak on it right now. So I would be okay with tabling it unless anyone has anything to add, like, I believe Mayor Garrett can ask her question if that may help us.
It's fine. I can save all my questions. I mean, I went through it already and kind of read all of them, just to get an idea of what they were. So we can just table it to the next meeting. So we can just skip over C. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Sounds
And-
good.
And we can put it on our next meeting for, I can't think of the date, but the next meeting, the third Monday of this month. So next up would be the cannabis ordinance ballot discussion.
What about the
What
city
about the
clerk?
city clerk?
So that was under the staffing update, staff opening. So if you would like to talk about the clerks, that's part of the package also.
No.
No, the
No, it's
clerks
not.
went out on the, we put that out on the MML, we put it out on the Clerks Association website. We have 3 resumes as of today.
Okay, and then
Extend it.
when are we closing that? I'm sorry about that. I thought that was just a part of the proposal. I don't know. I'm sorry.
The 7th, it was closing on the 7th, and somebody asked if we were gonna extend that.
So that would be for the council to decide whether or not we're gonna extend that to extend the date. So do you all want to discuss it right now, or do you want to put that till Monday also?
This is Barb. I have a question for Pam.
Okay,
Of the 3 candidates, are you comfortable with any of them?
2 of them have city experience, 1 does not.
So going off of that question, do they have any clerk experience? Do they have the certification to be a municipal clerk?
2 of them do, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to request that we extend it since it was over the holidays and everything. I don't know how many people were actually, looking for jobs at that point, so maybe another week. I don't know, Pam. I don't know what.
That's fine. It's,
I would just say that as, if you're looking for a job, you're looking on the vacation, right? While you're on vacation.
If you're desperate, yeah.
Well, I don't
not
necessarily think you have to be
necessarily-
desperate, but if you're a clerk looking for a new position, or anyone looking for a new position, I think that if that's something that you're actively doing. I mean, as shown by the fact that we have two qualified candidates, right? I mean,
I'm
I'm just,
impressed that 2 jumped on it, spotted it, and have been looking.
yeah, that's kind of one of my first thoughts too. And we want the ones that are actually actively looking.
So why don't we,
Has hired people before.
But the 7th is
Friday.
Friday? So
yeah, why don't we just kind of hold out to the end of the week and see what we get. I agree with Susie, and I believe it was with Barb, that when you're looking for a job, you're kind of looking at it, at all times, not something as a I don't know. Anyway, but why don't we just kind of hold off until Friday and see how many we get, because I think the key thing that we need for the city is someone to be a certified clerk, not someone that knows the clerk duties, but not have the actual certifications from the, I forgot what the actual credentialing body is for the clerks.
maybe you could let us know by Friday. This is Barb, if you have any more resumes.
Yep, that's what I just said, Barb.
Oh,
Thanks.
I mean, just put it out there in an email.
It's all good. It's all good. So why don't we just hold it open until Friday, and then send us an email, like maybe midday, to let us know how many people have submitted their resume, and then we can go from there. Does that sound like a plan for everyone?
Yeah, I have a question. Erin again, I have a question. I noticed in the posting that the city clerk would handle community room rentals. Is that typical? Is that usual? That was doing that before? That was under Scott or under Chris or under Parks and Rec.
there's been different ones, because when the clerk before that, Gloria was doing the rentals, the front counter does the rentals, the clerk helps out with the rentals. So yes, they are,
So
because I mean,
that's
you have to
something.
have, in the municipality, we have to have more than one person doing jobs, because if somebody's on vacation, you cannot expect that person just to wait till they get back. So we have to we have to multitask is what we do.
I'll address, okay. All right, thanks. Oh, this is Barb again. And is it the administration that hires or a clerk, or is it the council?
It's normally the city manager that would hire the clerk. You said, wait a minute, yeah, it's usually the city manager that would
Okay.
hire the clerk.
Okay,
And then the council would appoint.
Yeah, council confirms.
Confirms.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move to D, which is cannabis ordinance ballot discussion.
Yeah, so I had asked for this in the last meeting to be put on this study session to begin discussions and get advice from Scott as to how we would go about putting the ordinance on the ballot in next November. Is he on?
I don't see him.
He's,
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks.
My internet's really unstable, but we started to talk about it. I think the most efficient way to do it would be if this council were to, in essence, ask the residents for a referendum. So what that would look like is it would be a pretty straightforward, simple ballot language that what the ballot question would ask residents, should the ordinance that is currently enacted, should it be repealed? Yes or no? And then that, based on the outcome of that vote, council would take the appropriate action to either repeal or it would be repealed, and council would then have to impose a more permanent opt-out ordinance. But that would be my recommendation on how to handle it. Probably the easiest, most straightforward, least confusing way to handle it. So,
But I have
Scott,
a
did I
question
miss-
regarding that. I'm sorry, Bruce, is that if you ask the residents to repeal the ordinance that's in place now, does that open us up for someone, for a group to try to do a ballot initiative or a ballot initiative?
it does. I mean,
Scott, you went out.
it does.
Okay.
Sorry, it does potentially open the city up to a ballot initiative. However, if the residents vote to repeal the ordinance, that sends a pretty clear indicator to the cannabis industry that their ballot initiative also would in all likelihood be defeated, just given the nature of the election. Now obviously, if the residents don't vote in favor of repealing it, then the ordinance would remain in place and the city would be protected from those initiatives. So either way, I don't think it's going to. And then also the timing that, we would have a permanent opt-out in place prior to, or have one ready to be adopted simultaneously, so that the business just couldn't come in and open up during that period.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, can I ask a question? It was a little ambiguous the way you initially said that. I want to make sure I understand it clearly. Did you say that we would ask the residents to initiate a referendum, or we as council would put that question on the ballot?
No, you as council would put that question on
Yeah.
the ballot. I think that it would operate in essence as a referendum. But no, council can take that action and put the ballot question on as to whether or not the ordinance should be repealed or remain in effect.
Right. When you said referendum, that's why I thought it was a little ambiguous, but thank you. That clears that up.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, question.
Who is that?
Karen, can council repeal the ordinance?
Yes, council could repeal the ordinance.
and then put something else on the ballot for the voters?
It could, but then also again, remember, by default, if the city is not opted out, then it's by default opted in, which would mean that any cannabis business could open up, any number of cannabis business could open up, and the city would have no control over how many, where, what the requirements or restrictions would be
Right.
on those businesses.
Right, so, but if we were to repeal it, put it for the voters, do you want it or you don't want it? We couldn't do that with a special election?
We could do it with a special election. There's going to be a large cost associated with that.
Well, no.
I mean, I guess by asking the voters, we have a cannabis ordinance. Do you want to keep it or do you want to get rid of it? Is asking the same thing, but it leaves it in place until the decision is made. So you're not subjecting the city to that potential of, you know, if we don't have an ordinance on our books at all and the city council repeals it, there is nothing preventing from a dispensary from opening up, from buying a property and opening up tomorrow in the city of Lathrup Village. The city would have zero control over it. If they have got a license issued by the state, there's nothing we can do to stop that.
This is Barb. I say we go with the action to stop it, whatever is necessary.
This is not an action, meaning you're saying to do the repeal as in what Karen is asking, excuse me, Councilwoman Miller is asking, or what our city attorney has suggested?
Well, it sounds like the council can repeal it and put it to a vote by the residents. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, but it also, from what the city attorney just said, is that it opens us up that we would have nothing on the books, which means that as soon as that gets wiped out, that means that anyone who gets a license from the state of Michigan would be able to locate in the city of Lathrup Village, and we would not be able to do anything about it. Did I get that right, Scott?
Yes.
Question, can't we do a temporary opt-out?
Opt-out, yeah.
Yes.
What?
Yes, that's what I thought.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
can't we do a temporary opt-out until?
and then take it to the voters?
I think that's, if I may, that's essentially what City Attorney Baker is suggesting, right? By keeping the cannabis ordinance currently existing in place and not opening up that application period, and you know, I mean, you rescinded the application period at the last meeting. So by not opening that up, the ordinance is there. No one can do anything with it. A business can't come in and say, I would like to open a cannabis facility in your location. They can't apply until that application period has been opened. So if you don't open that application period until after you have that referendum, then you're still protected, and you can't have some random cannabis company come in and say, I want to open right now. That ordinance protects you. If you get rid of that ordinance and rescind that ordinance right now, then you have no ordinance saying yes or no, and that person can come in.
We have an ordinance saying we're opting out, and then we hold them.
So what's the advantage of doing that? I mean, the nothing can happen until that vote takes place without council action, and we're not acting on. We withdrew the application period. So I'm not understanding what the benefit of going through the process to repeal the ordinance is when the ordinance can't take effect until after the vote anyways.
I just think should the ordinance be repealed is going to be extremely confusing to residents. There are parts of it that are okay. There are parts of it that, I mean, You know, I might be okay with one, but not two. I mean, I don't know, there's 20 some pages, I believe, of the ordinance, so,
But what they're saying is that even with the ordinance being in place and we rescinded the ability to take applications, you can't do anything. It's basically,
We basically opted out.
yeah, so I'm not saying, I won't say it's dead, but we've already opted out because no one can put in a application because we're not accepting any application, but it protects the city from people from the outside going to the state and opening up a cannabis dispensary or whatever in our city, and we have no control over it. So if we repeal the ordinance, that opens us up to allow not only two, but however many people get licenses to come to Lathrup and
I'm
open up.
suggesting we replace it with a temporary opt-out. I'm not saying repeal it and do nothing. That's not what I'm
But
saying.
the
I'm not
temporary
saying-
opt-out is what we did that's what we basically did at the last meeting by not allowing any applications. We're not accepting any applications. That's what we did in December.
Yeah, we are opted out right now. And with the TBD, we are opted out until this council takes some further action.
I thought we only had 6 months from when the ordinance was enacted to repeal it, if we were going to at
Yeah,
all.
until
If
February.
I'm not mistaken, we did not have an end date. That was something that I really think it was both of you all that agreed. Actually, 3 of us agreed not to have a limitation on the date, and there was a TBD.
No, we're talking about when the ordinance is approved, they have six
what-
months to repeal it, but is that only if it's residents are doing it?
Go ahead, Scott. You started to talk. We're not
So
hearing.
what Barb is referencing, the 6 months, so if a ordinance if the city receives a referendum petition from residents within 6 months of the effective date of an ordinance, it will suspend the operation of that ordinance until such time that the ballot question is determined. That wouldn't come into play here because, as Kelly just explained and Susie explained, the city is opted out in essence right now because we're not processing applications. So the 6 months is not applicable to the city's action. That would only be for a referendum petition that would be received by city from residents.
Was there any further discussion regarding this?
So the process then, Scott, if council wanted to move to put the existing ordinance on the ballot, I can't remember. Do we draft up a resolution first, or do we have the can't think of his name right now. Our other attorney.
No, we would actually prepare the ballot language and the ballot question.
Okay.
And then we would submit approval to the state and the governor.
Right. Okay.
But that's go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just kidding, but we in this case we would need outside counsel like we have in the past for the millage, for example, for ballot language. That's something you could do.
Yeah, no, it would be just like we did the charter amendment,
right,
to change the budget dates. That was all done.
Now, is this something that we can have done by our next study session, which would be in February, or are we looking to do this in January? What is feasible?
I think we definitely could have the draft ballot question. I guess it's just council has to come to a consensus on how they want to do it. If there's been 2 different ways to discuss this evening. We can talk about in more detail. We could talk about ballot language at our next study session. We could have some samples. That's really, that decision will come from council.
If I may, Mayor, Hi, Susie. I would suggest the February study session because your January, the study session before your regular meeting this month is starting to look pretty full.
Agreed.
Yeah, so it'd be great if we could see some language examples for that meeting.
And then at that time, that's when we discuss we'll have the language examples, but then discuss the two options that's on the table.
Sounds good.
Is there anyone else want to give any feedback?
I just wanted to clarify, is that, Scott, is that the route you were looking to take? What Mayor Garrett just stated?
Well, I mean, that would be my recommendation. If council does put the question in front of the residents, then that would be my recommendation is probably the cleanest and easiest way to do it. Again, it's ultimately a decision of council, however they want to do it. So we can talk about the options and at the February study session.
Any other questions or concerns?
Well, I wouldn't mind, this is Barb, I wouldn't mind seeing some ballot language at the January meeting. We don't have to discuss it, but I would like to have something in hand that I could look at.
We'll have it for the February meeting because our January meeting, as Susie just said, was getting a little full. So we will have it available to all council, prior to our February, the first Monday in February. Anything else regarding the cannabis? Okay, we're gonna move on to Lathrup Village contracts and the updates on that.
That was the spreadsheet you want to talk about. That. Right. You know more about these. It's in the packets were the contract. These are all the contracts, and I tried to print it out bigger, everyone that's here, but my computer was against me. So break out the magnifying glasses. So those are all the contracts that the city has, and those are outside third-party vendors. This was something that had been on a December study session, and it was something that had been requested by council to review. And so this is just there for your information. I don't know if Pam or Chief McKee have anything to add or not.
I have nothing other than number 34, Color Toma, is actually Stephen Schwartz. He's his own firm now, and that's our legal attorney.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or want any discussion around the contracts?
I have a question. When are the contracts reviewed, like, for, I mean, I know there's some that have expiration dates, but then there's some that have been on, for several years. Is there a review process that city council does? I should pick out an example. I mean, I guess anyone that doesn't have a contract term or end, like, ours outdoor services, Baker and Alowski. Also, so I'm seeing like there isn't any contract end date, or is there like a review process? What is this? What does it look like?
For example, the city attorney does get reviewed by council. I think it should be coming up with that in it's March or April. I can't remember what it is. So we do a review at that time, but normally when the contracts are coming to a end, that the staff will, or the city manager will bring it to city council for it to be reviewed.
Okay.
And if there's any that you want to review at any given time, you can always request a copy of it and put it on a study, session agenda to discuss it.
Okay.
Are there any other questions about the contracts at this time? Okay, we'll go to mayor and council comments. I really don't have anything at this time. Is there anything from the council?
No council comments from Jalen Jennings.
Thank you, Jayla.
I do have a couple of things from Karen, residents that have reached out, now that we're coming up to, first of all, Happy New Year, everybody. Since we're coming up to snow plowing and all that kind of stuff, there have been issues with snow being piled up at the end of the streets and not being, people getting stuck, not being able to, get around. So I don't know if there's any plans to address any of that. It seems to be a real problem up by Southfield Road, where they just push up to Southfield Road and stop, and then people can't get out.
So is that Southfield Road or is that Lathrup Village streets? Because if it's
streets leading up to Southfield Road, and then also in the intersections, I know even on Glenwood and Santa Barbara, sometimes I don't know what the plowing pattern is, but it seems to be that they kind of push things in areas where people get stuck. I don't know. So just with that coming up.
The ones that are the plows that's towards Southfield Road is usually Oakland County Road Commission that does the roads, and then they end up with the big piles at the end of the streets, which has been questioned before or addressed to the Oakland County Road Commission, but we can bring it up again and ask for a a road commissioner to come and we can have that discussion again, but that has been discussed. The way that the streets are plowed, we do have a pattern that is on the website, which I know that that's hard to find. So what we'll do is if someone, Susie or Pam, if you could put it into our next packet, so everyone can see the way the roads are plowed, the priorities of the roads and which roads do get plowed. If you could do that, I will appreciate that.
Okay, I think you misunderstood my question. So I guess the question is, if a resident has an issue with the way the roads are being plowed, who do they contact? Maybe that's another way to do it. One of the city, just call the city. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I had somebody call today and they live on a dead end street and it was plowed, but it wasn't. Actually, the gentleman realized he forgot to plow that part, so he went back out this morning and did it. So it was taken care of.
Okay.
And on Southfield Road coming in, a lot of times Oakland County will plow after we have already plowed our roads. And they will push it in. The guys do take, but they have to take the pickup trucks out to get those corners and things like that to clear out. So they might not do it on the day it's snowing, but they try to get back to it the next day. Like I know they were out today doing some of that cleanup.
Okay, all right, great. That's great to know. And then also, you had mentioned earlier about someone calling in and you can't expect a person to wait for a couple of weeks. I have had a couple of complaints from residents who have been trying to reach someone in code enforcement, and they were just told that the person's out for 2 weeks and nothing can be done. So I don't know who's answered that, but I'll check into that. All right, should I have them call
They can
back?
call me.
Okay,
They can
okay.
call me.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Or
You
Scott
do
also
that.
said they can call the police
You can call
department
me,
too.
because I'll return our call within 24 hours.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Were there any other council comments?
Yes, this is Barb. I just had one comment that the administrators took care of it. I wondered when we were chipping trees, and I understand it's January 14th. It's just the one
It's
day.
the last day.
It's the last
Oh,
day.
what was the first day?
No, it's the last day.
I put the dates out there on the website, so it'll be the Fridays, right? Is we're still chipping
Oh,
on
I
Fridays, so it'll be this Friday and the
Shipping
next
is on
Friday.
Monday now.
Mondays?
Shipping is
Oh.
Monday.
Well, they did, I talked to the company and the gentleman told me that January 14th is the last day they will be picking up trees. And also, then they will stop chipping and then they will begin chipping back in the spring. And I think he told me, and don't quote me on this, but I think he said late April is when they're gonna start back up for chipping.
Oh, so it's the same company that was doing our limbs, our tree limbs and
Correct.
things? Okay. So they're gonna be driving around up until the 14th, or don't put your tree out till the 14th?
Oh, no, I think they'll be picking them up. They'll be around.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other council comments?
Yeah, so just to question, the ethics ordinance sample, is that our next study session, or is that in February? I can't remember when we said that was gonna be.
Yes.
I think we said that was gonna be January, but I don't have my other notes in front of me.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in the next study session or the next.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other? Do we have any public comments? Ms. Holly, do you have something you wanted to say before?
Hi, no, it was answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other public comments? Any other? Do you see any hands?
We're checking.
We're checking in the rooms.
There's no one on Zoom who has their hand up to speak.
Okay.
No one else here.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, do we do that on a study session or just
I
adjourn?
don't think so, but I just wanted to make sure that everything by the book, you know?
Yeah. I just apologize again to everybody for all the technical difficulties.
Yeah,
So,
that was a mess. Sorry.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone that was able to join today. I hope you all stay safe, stay warm, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Right.
thanks.